Hi, this is Don, and I'm an old school kind of guy. Now, obviously, using a video camera to make a YouTube, I ain't very old school. And normally I don't hold it this close. It's kind of funny, I tend to look at the screen when I should be looking at the camera. But that's okay. I'm holding it this close today because I need to move the camera around. You know, how many times have you heard somebody, read something, whatever, and they say isolation tank, hospital tank, whatever. And how many times have you told yourself, I just can't do it? Or like me, every time I set up an isolation tank, it becomes a regular tank, and then I have to go buy another isolation tank. Okay, I've talked about it before. First off, I have some 55-gallon totes that are just sitting back there waiting. I can use them anytime I need to, in just in case of crisis. And I always have some empty fish tanks sitting around. Well, right now I need some isolation tanks. I've got some Honduran red points that are in a tank with a bunch of endlers. And those Honduran red points were fry when I put them in there, and they're getting big enough now that they're snacking on my endlers. Well, the fry anyway. So I need to move them out. I'm going to be selling them at auction soon, but not soon enough. So I'm going to set up some isolation tanks. In fact, I've already done it. So, and then I want to sell off some of the parents of these Honduran red points. I have multiple breeding pairs, so I need to sell off some of those. And that tank needs to be broken down anyway where they're breeding, because it's got way too much algae in it, and it's beyond control. And I'll probably do a video on that later. But so isolation tanks, what did I do? Well, here's what I did. I set up 3 tanks. I actually still have some more empty tanks, but the one on the right is a 29-gallon. The ones on the left are 10 gallons. Now let's get up here and look close. This is the 29-gallon. And yeah, I just happen to have some extra heaters sitting around. Now what I did was, after scrubbing it out because I got it used and it hadn't been cleaned, I just dumped some pool sand in the bottom, not very much. You know, you can see just an inch or so. And I put 3 big rocks in there. I'm not going to add any plants. And I threw in a heater over here. What is that? That is a pot scrubber. It's out of one of the hang on the back filters I have. And why is it in there? Because it's full of bacteria. I'm about to put a sponge in here, and that'll be my filter. But in the meanwhile, it's a good way to start a tank. And all this stuff floating on the top, that's from the pool sand. I'll bring in a shop vac and clean it out. Oh wait, there's a shop vac. Getting ready to. Now next to it is a 10-gallon. Nice and long. Yeah, there's a heater in back. And I just throw in some rocks to give them, you know, a little comfort. There's a pot scrubber out of the same HOB. And here's another 10-gallon. Same thing. I had another heater. Yeah, I have that many extra heaters. I still got some more. Another pot scrubber out of the same HOB. That tank has got plenty of filtration on it, so I can afford to do that. I have plenty of extra rocks sitting around. I have extra sand sitting around. And so I set up 3 isolation tanks on short order. Oh, I should show you something. where I'm going to tell you, do as I say, not as I do. Okay, dogs, quiet. I don't know if it's going to be easy to see here, but this 10-gallon, both of them are overhanging slightly on the stand. It's a 55-gallon stand, and you should never, never, never let your aquariums overhang their stand. The aquariums need to be supported. With that said, I will push that rule only with a 10-gallon or smaller, because there's just not enough water to be that big a risk. A 10-gallon tank with those rocks in it and sand, it's 100 pounds or so, and it'll be fine. I would never do it even with a 20-gallon. So there you go. Isolation tanks. It's that easy, people. Oh, you know what my biggest problem is? I didn't have enough thermometers. Oh my goodness, 86. Got to turn that down. And then I'm going to get it down to about 76, 77, and then I'll move it over to each of the 10 gallons because I didn't have enough thermometers. So I need to go buy some. So there you go. Isolation tanks. There's one man that believes in them. In this case, it's not for fish that are coming into my fish room. It's for fish that are going out. One reason why it's nice to have isolation tanks for fish that are leaving is because before I ship, transport, exchange, sell fish, I stop feeding them for 2 to 3 days, maybe 4 if they're good and healthy. And then they travel so much better, and they'll do fine. And it's hard to stop feeding fish in a mature planted tank, which is what most of mine are. If you have bottom feeders or grazers like live bearers, they'll find algae and whatever to eat on, even if you stop feeding. You throw them in an isolation tank and you don't put food in there, or not much, it's easy to cut the food off. My fish are going to be in here probably for about a month, and I'm going to feed them probably every other day for most of that time, maybe 4 or 5 days a week. That's more likely. I'm not going to feed them heavy. Usually I feed pretty heavy because I have lots of plants and lots of scavengers and bottom dwellers and so forth. But isolation tanks are good for fish coming in, good for fish coming out. No matter how you slice it, this hobby is fun. So go have some. Bye.